I'm going to be talking today about a discernment path, which is to either become free of something, um, which is to arrive without having to be part of something, with a connection, a link, or it's like a reuniting, like a merging, a connecting, a bonding. And some of the ways in which practices of either or where we get to practice discernment is letting go of competition for the sake of friendship, for the sake of being a friend, having a friend, so that we're rooting for each other. Being blocked from merging with others who might be wanting to bring about redemption and to be what we call in Judaism a messianic spark. So being blocked from merging with those who are unable to in other words, to be able to bring it into the world, I have to be in a world where it's needed. People need redemption. They don't feel free. So I might be blocked and sabotaged sort of from connecting with people who are like that just so I could continue doing the work I'm supposed to do. Opening the heart, standing on my own 2 feet. And what that looks like is a new opportunity. And so I open my heart and standing on my own 2 feet. And this could be feeling wobbly or shaky, and that's okay. Moving with sincere focus and curiosity and trusting it's okay. That even if I'm trying new dance moves, new song, doing that with a real, I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm okay with messing up. Brings and evokes not necessarily pity, but sort of sympathy, empathy from others who also know what it's like to make mistakes. And there's more of a sense of it's okay, practice, just practice. Being of service versus being used or objectified. So letting go of being an object and instead being a servant of love, of the all for one for all. Life protects life, that kind of thing. The body is the first relationship. So that's where we learn about lack or longing, and that's where we learn about the sense of cleanliness or blemishes. And being a process instead of a role is something I personally am working on a lot, that I'm not only good enough at the end of the day when I finished everything I had to do, and I'm also not only good enough because I've surrounded myself with people who look like they might approve of me. So another way of saying this is that getting creative versus getting stuck. So becoming who I'm supposed to be, finding a way out of problems, having a reference point of love and presence and trust is how to relate to others. We all have reference points. On the other side of it, being a trigger or a hypocrite, too much or too little responsibility. So, I might feel like afraid that I might anger somebody with my opinion and they might not be ready to hear it, even though they asked me for it. Or I might be a hypocrite. I might be talking about, please don't betray my trust and, not do what you said, and versus how many times I do that. And also bringing that even into religions, comparing religions for the sake of not habitually forming meaning. The word habit could mean like a frock or a dress, the word forming is like informing, like becoming something, and meaning. So the meaning takes on a form, and it's like we say this religion is this and this religion is that. But actually, all paths lead to one, and just everyone has different reference points. So this is the idea of expansion and karma at the same time. You might say expansion is like in Kabbalah we would say chesed, in the astrology we would say it's like Jupiter. It's this idea of growth, higher learning, opening. It's like you love a flower. You love to smell the flower. You love to see the beauty of the color of the flower. You love to know the context of how it's growing a wildflower. You love to even sometimes eat certain flowers that are edible. Definitely animals do. And also you love just the feeling of the soft petals, especially in contrast with perhaps thorns. And that flower, as you love it, more love is in the world. More love. The flower loves to be smelled, thinking of being admired, thinking of being, oh, you smell so good, you feel so soft, and your petals, and just I admire the way you grow here, and this admiration and this love and this, this cherishing, this desiring, this preciousness is double, because what you love, the flower is being loved, and you're bringing more love in the world. And same with healing. we receive enough healing to share. Like, we're able to help each other. Our presence brings in more healing. This is the idea of expansion in the world, very present. But energy cannot be created or destroyed. So there's also this rule that even though there's this mirroring effect, that if you take something that doesn't belong to you, it's going to be taken from you in another area. You might be admiring a woman who's not your wife and you're in a relationship, and then in another area you find out that your wife is being admired by a man, and it really makes you feel jealous because it's at her job, and you find out for years she's been with him, and you felt like, big man because that woman seemed very friendly to you, and, she's been feeling like that every day and still loyal and not really flirting, So it's like, that's just a strange example. And when I say strange, I mean it's not something everyone can relate to. But more importantly, the idea that if you insult somebody who doesn't deserve to be insulted, you abuse someone who doesn't deserve to be abused, not to say anyone ever does, but it will be taken from you, that innocence, that energy, that comfort. And that, you might say, is Saturn. These rules are built in, like attracts like, and then also this other rule of every action has a equal or opposite reaction. And in this case, we're saying even a greater reaction. There's more love in the world. And also is like with pain, there's more pain in the world. You cause pain. Now, you're in pain, you cause pain, the other person's in pain, also watching your pain, you're both seeing each other in pain, more pain. All right, moving forward, inner bonding and values can change. So the values change by what I value. I might value spending time with strangers more than with the person who I used to consider my partner. Or I may value, my hobbies more than my work, even though when I first started this job, it was what I was dreaming about and thinking about. Reading and experiencing are all in one and one in all. In other words, you could read the book, get the information, even some of these esoteric texts, very, very brilliant works that really, really open the mind and give us a way in to merge with spirit. And this is like, it's all in there. You could access the all through these little words, through this one little book. And also you could experience in yourself, in the experience of the moment, you could access what everybody's trying to write about, what everybody's trying to put into paper. You can have that parallel universe sense of access point. And how they say this in Judaism is to choose to be conscious. And this is Rabbi Diane Elliott, I believe. She says this, to choose to be conscious is to be a healer. And I mentioned here, when you choose to be conscious, you are bringing more consciousness into the world. So there is the energy of expansion working here, which is to be a healer is to be healing yourself and all their lineage, and to be healing those around you. Like a womb is feeding the uterus, the womb is feeding the baby's environment, the atmosphere, which it's coming from without trying. It just is. That's the match. The more of me I bring, even to do less, the better. So the more of me I'm bringing into being conscious as I'm doing things, even if I'm not doing as many things on the list, but each one is more potent and more a deeper touchstone or reference point, the better. The freeing from the stories mattering too much to others or too little. So the stories of who I am in my relationships or in my connections, new or old, to be able to kind of like to let go of needing to be so much on a pedestal. And I think this season right now, we're having Sagittarius energy with the moon, and it's the idea of taking the person off the pedestal and recognizing it's all spirit in a sense, or spirit or fire or life or psychology or newness or expansion and or destruction, or just the changes happening, which are more vague and abstract, but kind of get like, they burn away the little fizzles of the little stories where everything matters so much, and kind of like experiencing life matters more. And that's all part of the discernment path. And now I'm going to share two little practices. So one is, how do I live? And in two ways, one in freeing and one in bonding. So in freeing, I avoid, in bonding, I get kind of wrapped up around myself so as not to be exposed in the substantial, what I can touch, instead of finding my own sufficiency, which would be from the inside out, which I cannot touch. And then the feelings which come, which are to not feel confident, and not feeling significant or relevant, or not feeling in touch with my abilities. So in bonding to the outside, I'm seeing here that this is like not merging with the spirit, and worth going into, which I will in a second. And how do I live, in terms of freeing? So by avoiding losses, and so as not to be in lack or loss, or really grief, I would say, not to be in lack or grief, I avoid certain transformations where I'll lose the little power or the idea of myself or prestige that I currently think I have. And because of it, in uncertainty, I often feel insecure. And, that what I need will be provided, or that I'll be supported, connected, encouraged as much as I need. And this is how I go a little deeper to the second practice, which is, do I volunteer to connect and merge with the soul spirit? And that's a way of doing both. Having the discernment to free myself from all that's trying to merge with me or that surrounds me. And at the same time, I am the turbulence of life, and at the same time, bonding to the truth of the essence. So these are some things that came up for me. When I focus on having my pelvis be like a hammock, then I get a real access point for like the touch of space. There's a lot of pressure that I feel coming in from the outside, and that's what I get afraid of losing anything, because how could I handle the pressure? I won't get enough support. So really there's this sense of the pelvis as a hammock. The pressure of the breath can even go into the pelvis breathing, the pelvic floor. And that's been really helping me. And I went to a class about it with a physical therapist with a tremendously impressive background as a dancer. And there was many dancers there. And I am ashamed to say I identify as a dancer because I'm so shy and usually dance alone. But at times when I'm at a drum circle or, at a silent disco, I can dance. If I feel like I'm able to bond with myself, I can really dance. Moving forward, I'm often rushing to be enough of a whole person to be able to relax, or on someone else's schedule, which objectifies myself. I find myself feeling so rejected instead of protected, often when I'm redirected. These are two separate things. One is I'm trying to be on the schedule to keep people calm, but that actually objectifies, to be able to relax through somebody else. I try to accommodate others so they'll be calm enough for me to also be calm enough, and often through the schedule. And I find myself in another way when things don't go as planned, or when I'm trying for something and I'm not being accepted, or it's not working, I feel so rejected. Instead of recognizing I'm being protected, instead of redirected. I'll give one example of a professor who didn't want me to become, a laboratory assistant. He pretended that he wanted to because he had to, but deeply he didn't want that. He was so kind and warm to me, but deeply he didn't want that life for me. He didn't want me to be forced to be pigeonholed in a box. And, that professor who kind of waited till last minute so I wouldn't get approved, even though the whole time he was very kind to me, I took it as such rejection. I had a big grudge against him, and then suddenly I sort of like arrived into the fact that who pushed me away, he didn't push me away, he pushed me away from that path. And another way is I so badly want to be an individual that I plan ahead for privacy, and sometimes I don't get to connect with myself, wanting to connect with others, and I'll set myself up that the only way I could connect with myself is alone. And instead of merging with a crisis where I shut down or break down, I'm learning to choose to withstand. And when I say choose to withstand, I mean choose to be the atmosphere which the turbulence is in, that nothing could separate me from my true self, even if it seems like it's shape-shifting as much as I am having to adapt. As I'm adapting, the world is changing, and can I meet every challenge? And so I often resist the pressure of new opportunities, and that's a way that I don't really get to merge with my spirit, which can handle everything. And it'll show me through the actions that it can. And then finally, self-pampering is actually being at my own pace. I did go to a workshop, and the woman said, what are some ways you could pamper yourself? And I was ashamed when the most important thing was just be on my own schedule. I didn't realize how far away from my sense of timing and pace I am sometimes. But even when I feel that urgency or that pressure to be somewhere, sometime, or someone else. And so I wish you that, the discernment path as freeing from or bonding to, and as a way of seeing how life is sufficient inside and outside of me. And, just bonding, for full bonding, for full merging, for full merging with I'm going to call it the self. I'm going to call it the self, for full merging with the self. Thank you for spending time with me.